Again, we have a few pretrial matters to take care of. First of all, we have a recording from the victim the last moments of her life when she was in the vehicle with the defendant who crashed the car after drinking. That recording has already been admitted by this court previously. We just wanted to bring it to your attention. In addition, we also have a photo of the victim, Vanessa Sullivan, that we'd like to keep up during trial.
I would object to that, as though that would be more prejudicial than probative to keep it up through all of trial. Also, according to the special instructions, it may be only used during openings and closings. Therefore, I would ask that it be not be on the table during trial.
Your Honor, using a photo of the victim is not substantially more prejudicial than it is probative. It gives the jury an idea of who this person was, the person who lost her life, and goes to show the defendant's reckless disregard for this human life.
May I respond to that?
What do the special instructions say about when it can be?
Your Honor, we will only be using it during openings and closings. We won't be using it during any of the examinations. It'll just be sitting on counsel table.
Okay, I'm going to allow you to present it during open and close, but it's not going to be up for the full trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
So your objection is sustained, I guess. Next.
We just have one question about how you like your courtroom run. May we use the well for all openings, closings, and examinations?
Yes.
With that, Your Honor, the state is ready for trial.
Your Honor, the defense also has a few pretrial matters. First, we'd like to tender to the bench a copy of the Midlands Penal Code, the jury instructions, and the grand jury indictment. May I approach?
Your Honor, we just ask that the jury instructions be kept out until right before closings, as the special instructions indicate that the jury instructions aren't actually created until before closings.
Yeah.
Your Honor, we're not entering them in as exhibits. Also, what is your preference on asking to approach the witness, opposing counsel, and the bench?
You don't have to ask for approach from counsel, you do have to ask for approach.
Okay. And at this time, the defense would like to make its appearances.
Do that during opening statement.
Okay. And with that, the defense is ready to proceed.
Mr. Armour?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court. I'd like to introduce you to someone today. This is Vanessa Sullivan. She was killed by a drunk driver, the defendant, on September 24th, 2010. The defendant was the designated driver. The defendant drove drunk, and because the defendant drove drunk, a young girl is dead. This young girl was 21 years old, celebrating her 21st birthday, out with her friends, doing what all 21-year-olds do, having a good time on her birthday. She had a long life ahead of her. She was going to go to law school soon. But now, none of this can happen because her life was taken well before her time. The night started whenever Vanessa's best friend, Taylor Hobson, and Vanessa both went to a local bar called Chuggy's. You're going to hear from Taylor Hobson today. She's going to tell you all about how the bar was, how the defendant was acting. She's going to corroborate that he was the designated driver. They arrive at Chuggy's, and they go and talk to the defendant to make sure that he's still going to be the designated driver. He reassures them. He says that he will be, and he probably wouldn't drink. He continued to drink, and he continued to drink heavily. The night went on. He had beer after beer, shot after shot, and drink after drink, until he was stumbling around the bar, and he even went up on stage, and he played the band's guitar. After he did this, it was late, and it was becoming time to go. And so they leave the bar, and the defendant was, as he was going to be the designated driver, he gets in the car with Taylor and Vanessa, these two young girls. The weather outside was awful. It was raining and storming, the lightning was flashing, the thunder was booming. And Vanessa had a curfew. It was 8 minutes after they left the bar. But she lives 20 minutes away. And so the defendant decided that he should get them home as fast as possible, and on top of everything, he decided that he should take back roads to avoid police officers. So here these young two innocent girls are, and they're driving through this rain and thunder and lightning too fast down dark, unlit back roads, windy roads. But the scariest part of all is that the defendant was driving and the defendant was drunk. The defendant goes off the road to the right. He tries to come back on the road, and he starts spinning out of control until he hits a tree and a telephone pole on the front door passenger side, and Vanessa Sullivan was dead. You're going to hear from the first officer that came to the scene that day, Officer Ryan Foster. He'll tell you about field sobriety tests that he performed on the witness, on the defendant, all of which the defendant failed. You're even going to hear that the defendant told this officer that he could use another drink. We have the burden of proof today as the state. We have to show you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant recklessly killed Vanessa Sullivan with a manifest indifference to human life. We'll show you that today. But we also have to show you that the defendant was driving under the influence. To do that, you'll hear from an alcohol expert that was at the station that performed a breathalyzer on the defendant. And you'll hear just how scientifically drunk he was. And then at the end of this trial, my co-counsel is going to stand up and deliver a closing. And she's going to ask you for a verdict. Find him guilty.
Mr. Cox.
Thank you. May I ask that the opposing counsel sits down to the may I proceed? The defendant, Danny Dawson, appears by your counsel. My name is Darius Hawks. This is Brianna Short and Dalton. Blinded by the need to blame. We, the defense, understand this is a difficult situation, a painful situation.